Russia's actions had no impact at all on the outcome of the election. Let me be totally clear in saying that, and I've said this many times, I accept our intelligence community's conclusion that Russia's meddling in the 2016 election took place. Could be other people also. There's a lot of people out there.
Trying to figure that little contradiction out. Anyway, welcome back to Harvard. That was President Trump last week during one of his many course corrections on Russia meddling in the 2016 election. As the beneficiary of those Russian efforts, Trump has had a problem with pointing the finger directly at Russia for interfering in our elections. Of course, that makes sense. But new reporting shows Russian efforts to infiltrate our country went far beyond the political electoral stuff. The Wall Street Journal reports on a successful Russian campaign, for example, to hack U.S. electric companies, writing, hackers working for Russia claimed hundreds of victims last year in a giant and long-running campaign that put them inside the control rooms of U.S. electric utilities where they could have caused blackouts, federal officials said. They said the campaign likely is continuing. Quote, they got to the point where they could have thrown switches and disrupted power flows, said one Department of Homeland Security official. Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats warned of threats like that and more just last week in Aspen.
I'm concerned about, you say, what do you worry at night? I'm concerned about a cyber 9/11.
What would that look like?
Well, let's say you shut down Wall Street for a week. What does that do to world markets and people's investments? Let's say you crash a Bank of America or Wells Fargo or whatever, and all of a sudden people are saying, wait a minute, what happened to my account? What happened to my retirement? Well, we've seen this, and we've seen coverage of that. We haven't seen the big one. What about an attack on the electric grid in New England in January?
For more, I'm joined by Chris Painter, former State Department coordinator for cyber issues, and Courtney Kuby, NBC News national security and military reporter. Courtney, you're breaking the story, so let me ask you what you broke. How dangerous is this?
It's very dangerous. I mean, what's key about the story that we put out a couple of days ago on Iran is that it's not an imminent attack. But the U.S. intelligence is now confident that Iran has laid the groundwork for a couple thousand individual attacks against both critical infrastructure here in the United States, private industry, and then also on facilities that exist in parts of Western Europe.
Who's ahead, the Russians or the Iranians that are threatening us?
It depends on if you're talking specifically cyber. We've seen Russia carry out some attacks. In 2015 and 2016, they hit the electrical grids in Ukraine. They did actually cause blackouts. And, as we heard Dan Coats talk about the cyber 9/11, one of those was right before Christmas. It's cold in Ukraine at Christmas time. And those are the kinds of attacks that could have the potential for loss of life, catastrophic.
We're not at war with We're not at war with Russia. I hope we never do go to war with Russia. We've avoided it all through the Cold War. So let's get to the question. Why are they up to this?
Well, they could be using this to preposition in case there is a shooting war or in case there is even more tensions than there are now. So we've seen, for instance, Iran has done denial of service attacks. They've done these attacks against our financial institution websites back in 2012, 2013. As Courtney said, we did see the attacks on the Ukrainian power grid taking it down. That was almost a proof of concept.
We like that.
No, on the Ukrainians, no.
I'm sorry. We like the one on Iran. We screwed up their whole nuclear program.
This is when Iran actually attacked us, when they attacked our financial institutions.
Well, what did we do to them in terms of stopping their nuclear?
What we did. Well, I think that.
Are you afraid to say so? Aren't we aggressive here too?
I think we need to be aggressive. I think we need to have cyber tools in our arsenal. I think we need to use them as part of an overall government response. It includes everything from sanctions to diplomatic to really everything. That needs to be part of our arsenal. The thing that we haven't done a good job on, Chris, is when we see all these actions by Russia, election interference, this prepositioning in our power grid, because I think that's what it is, prepositioning, or just recently, and the White House actually attributed this to Russia, the big worm that took down things all over the world, including Maersk, the big shipping giant in Denmark, that had really millions and millions of dollars of damage. That was the Russian government. That was attributed to the Russian government.
What was their motive for doing that?
To cause dissension, to cause disruption. They've been very disruptive in the physical world, Ukraine. They've been very disruptive in the cyber world, too. What we've been terrible at is we haven't imposed costs on Putin and other bad state actors that make them think twice before doing this. And even when we do things, even when the White House, for instance, levies some sanctions on Russia, it's undercut because it has to come from the top. You have to have strong messaging from the top, from the president himself saying, This is impermissible. You do this again, there are going to be consequences.
One of the old rules of the Cold War was you can't, in the Second World War, was you can't stop the offense. You can't really stop the bombers. You're always in the nuclear age. It was there's no real defense against nuclear weapons. You just have to have more than the other side, so they don't use them. Something like that. So mutual assured destruction. Is there any way to ever win the war playing defense? Courtney, can we win playing defense against the Russians, or do we have to play offense with them and beat them at this game?
So if they know that you're playing defense enough that they don't actually carry out an attack, perhaps. I mean, the big question right now is what is the policy? There is no cyber policy.
Well, the answer to Chris's question, what's the penalty on the Russians, on Putin over there saying, I want a big switch that I can pull tomorrow morning to shut down everything electric in the United States, all air traffic control, all the stock market. I'm going to be able to kill it all once just for fun. What's to stop him from doing that? Because he seems to have the kind of personality to do that.
Well, so if is an attack in cyber or something like this, an infrastructure that leads to loss of life, is that considered an act of war? And is that something that could be responded to with a kinetic response, like a missile strike?
Well,
or
like
something?
a hospital, they can't get the ambulance out there in time.
Right. So I think there's little chance that Putin is going to kind of launch this attack now, because it'd be hugely escalatory, and we would, I think, really be forced. Even Trump would be forced to respond, and respond very strongly. So I think that's one of the issues. However,
should the Americans worry about this and tell their congressperson to do something about this?
Absolutely. I mean,
anyway, last week, DNI, that's the Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, said that Russia was by far the most aggressive threat to U.S. cybersecurity. According to last Friday, you reported that U.S. officials said Iran is making preparations that could enable denial of service attacks against thousands of electric grids, water plants, healthcare, and technology companies in the U.S., Germany, the U.K., and other countries in Europe. So they're declaring war on everybody?
Yeah.
What are the Iranians up to?
It's not just Iran, too. I mean, North Korea, China, there's cyber threats from all over the world. I mean, in this case, it's our understanding that it started, there's been this diplomatic impasse that started with the U.S. pulling out of JCPOA back in May.
The Iranian nuclear deal.
Exactly. So our understanding is the intelligence is that they are laying this groundwork so that should there need to be a next step. So if there is some sort of a provocation, Iran has the ability, and we're not talking about necessarily carrying out thousands of cyber attacks at once, but they could have malware, they could impact, ones and twos, both here in the United States and overseas, U.S. allies.
This is an asymmetric threat. That they have power in cyber. They're one of the big actors, the DNI.
Iran or Russia?
Iran. Russia is always the most sophisticated actor, and this has been true for years. China's right up there with them, and then North Korea and Iran both really sharpening their capabilities. And that's exactly right. There was a lessening of activity after the nuclear agreement, but this is something they can do to be disruptive, and this is something they can do.
It seems to me if they can do this kind of crap, they can start emptying out our bank accounts.
We've seen North Korea. I mean, their cyber attacks have been financial.
Chris Painter, thank you. Courtney Kuby, great reporting.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.